The alarm blared through Helios 7 space station, causing June to drop his soil sample. The clear container hit the laboratory floor with a crack. Soil scattered across the clean white surface. All personnel to stations. First contact procedures, in effect. "This is not a drill," announced the station's AI in its calm voice. June blinked in confusion. The Durrani delegation was not due for another 12 hours. He checked his watch again to make sure. Yes, the meeting was scheduled for 0800 tomorrow. Something had changed. "Attention, all crew." Captain Hana's voice replaced the AI's. "Our visitors have arrived early. I need all departments ready in 15 minutes. Diplomatic team to the main airlock immediately." June was not part of the diplomatic team. As a junior xenobiologist, his job was to study alien life forms, not talk to them. But the Durrani were the first intelligent alien species humanity had encountered in 30 years of space exploration. No one on the station would miss this moment. He quickly cleaned the spilled soil, stored his remaining samples, and joined the stream of crew members moving through the station's corridors. "Why are they early?" asked Sung, the station's chief engineer, as June caught up to him. "I don't know," June replied. "Maybe they count time differently. Their planet rotates slower than Earth." The two men hurried toward the observation deck overlooking the main airlock. By the time they arrived, the space was already crowded with off-duty personnel. Everyone wanted to witness this historic moment. Through the large viewing window, June could see Captain Hana and 4 senior officers standing at attention in the reception area. They wore their formal blue uniforms with the golden Earth insignia. The captain looked calm, but June noticed her fingers tapping against her leg, a nervous habit she displayed during inspections. "The lighting is all wrong," Sung muttered beside him. "We were supposed to have time to adjust everything." June nodded. The Durrani evolved on a planet that received very little sunlight. Their homeworld, Marusk, orbited a dim red dwarf star and was covered in thick clouds that blocked most of the light. According to their messages, the Durrani found standard human lighting painful. "The captain ordered all lights dimmed to 15%, said a communications officer standing nearby. "It was the best compromise we could manage on short notice. Even at 15%, the lighting seemed too bright for beings used to darkness." June worried that this might cause problems for the first face-to-face meeting between humans and Durrani. A red light flashed above the outer airlock door. The Durrani ship had docked successfully. "They're coming through," someone whispered. The outer door slid open. 3 tall figures stepped into the airlock chamber. They wore what looked like environmental suits completely covering their bodies. The suits were dark gray with no markings. Their helmets had black visors that hid their faces completely. The airlock cycled, equalizing pressure and atmosphere. Captain Hana straightened her uniform and stepped forward to greet the visitors. Her face showed a practiced diplomatic smile. Then, everything went wrong. As the inner airlock door began to open, the lights in the reception area suddenly brightened to full power. The automatic system had malfunctioned, bathing the room in light as bright as Earth's midday sun. "No!" Sung shouted, lunging for the control panel near the observation window. "The system reset itself." On the observation deck, people gasped. In the reception area, Captain Hana's smile vanished, replaced by horror. The human delegation stepped back, expecting the worst. Everyone had studied the information provided by the Durrani. Their eyes were extremely sensitive to light. Their skin could burn under brightness that humans found comfortable. This level of light might cause them serious pain or injury. The inner door finished opening. The 3 Durrani stood motionless at the threshold between the airlock and the too bright reception area. "I'm so sorry," Captain Hana said quickly, her voice carrying through the speakers to the observation deck. "We're experiencing a system malfunction. Engineer Sung is fixing it right now." Sung's fingers flew across the control panel, trying to override the lighting system. The lead Durrani, taller than the others by about 20 centimeters, raised a 4-fingered hand. The gesture was surprisingly human-like. "Is there a problem, Captain Hana?" The voice came through a translator device, sounding flat and mechanical. The captain blinked in confusion. The lights, they're at full power. We understood this would cause your delegation discomfort or injury. The three Durrani looked at each other. Through their dark visors, it was impossible to see their expressions. We are unharmed, said the lead Durrani. A murmur swept through the humans on the observation deck. June leaned forward, pressing his hands against the glass. This contradicted everything the Durrani had told them about their biology. Captain Hana recovered quickly. Nevertheless, we promised appropriate accommodations. Sung, please continue working on the lights. Actually, said the lead Durrani, this presents an opportunity to begin our discussions with complete honesty. The alien reached up and did something completely unexpected. It removed its helmet. The humans stared in amazement. The Durrani's face was unlike anything they had imagined. Its skin was covered in small scales that shimmered with a blue-green iridescence in the bright light. Its eyes were large with vertical pupils like a cat's, but those pupils were not contracted in pain as they should have been in such brightness. They were open, calm, assessing the human reaction. My name is Envoy Trell, said the Durrani. On behalf of the Durrani Collective, I greet humanity. And I must begin with an admission. We have not been entirely truthful about our biology. The other two Durrani also removed their helmets. Their faces were similar to Trell's, though one had scales with a more purple tint. The sunlight had no effect on them, Sung whispered, his hand frozen above the control panel. Look at their eyes. They're not even squinting. Captain Hana stood speechless for a moment, clearly reassessing everything she thought she knew about. They're visitors. You seem surprised, Captain, said Trell, his mouth forming what might have been a smile. That is understandable. Perhaps we should move to your conference room where we can explain our reasons. Yes, Captain Hana said, finding her voice. Yes, of course, please follow me. As the human delegation led the Durrani away from the reception area, June turned to Sung. Why would they lie about something so basic? What else haven't they told us? Sung shook his head. I don't know, but I'm guessing we're about to find out. On the observation deck, the crew of Helios 7 looked at each other with new uncertainty. First contact had just become more complicated than anyone had expected. The conference room on Helios 7 was designed to impress visitors. One entire wall was a window looking out into space, showing the curve of the nearby planet and the distant stars. The large oval table in the center could seat 20 people. Today it held just 8, 5 humans and 3 Durrani. Captain Hana sat at one end of the table. Beside her were her second-in-command, Officer Day, the station's lead diplomat Mina, and 2 security officers. June had not been invited to the meeting, but Captain Hana had allowed him to operate the recording equipment from a small desk in the corner. As the station's xenobiologist, she thought his observations might be valuable. The 3 Durrani sat across from the humans. Their helmets rested on the table in front of them. Under the bright lights of the conference room, their scaled skin continued to shimmer with colors that shifted when they moved. Let me begin by apologizing for our deception, said Envoy Trell. His translator device gave his words a flat tone, but his body language seemed sincere. He placed his 4-fingered hands flat on the table. It was necessary for our safety, Captain. Hana nodded slowly. I understand the need for caution when meeting an unknown species, but I'm curious why you chose this specific deception. Why pretend to be sensitive to light? The second Durrani spoke up. She had introduced herself as Orcs, their scientific expert. It is a strategy we have used before. A test, if you will. A test? Officer Day asked, his voice sharp with suspicion. What kind of test? One that reveals character, said the third Durrani, named Varric. When a species believes they have an advantage, they often reveal their true intentions. Mina leaned forward, her diplomatic training showing in her calm expression. You wanted to see if we would try to use your supposed weakness against you? Exactly, said Trell. We have encountered 17 spacefaring species in our history. Experience has taught us caution. June, sitting quietly with his recorder, found this fascinating. 17 other alien species. Humanity had always wondered if the galaxy was full of intelligent life. Now they knew. How many of these species tried to exploit your supposed light? Sensitivity? Captain Hana asked. 15, replied Orcs simply. The room fell silent. 15 out of 17. That was not a good ratio. What happened to those 15 species? Asked one of the security officers, his hand moving unconsciously toward his weapon. Trell's vertical pupils narrowed slightly. We are not warriors by nature. We established limited diplomatic relations where possible. Where not possible, we avoided further contact. And the other 2 species? Asked Captain Hana. The ones who passed your test? We maintain positive relations with them, said Varric. One has been our ally for over 200 of your Earth years. Mina, the diplomat, smiled. And now humanity makes 3, it seems. That remains to be seen, said Trell. Your initial response is promising. Your station modified its lighting. You prepared special quarters for us. Your staff has been wearing these. He pointed to the special low-light goggles that all the humans had clipped to their belts, ready to use if needed. Basic courtesy, said Captain Hana with a small shrug. Nothing special. That attitude is precisely what is special, said Orcs. Many species would consider such accommodations beneath them. Some would see our weakness as an opportunity. June noticed something important. The Durrani kept referring to their false light sensitivity as a test, but they had not yet explained what they actually were. If they weren't nocturnal creatures from a dark world, what were they? As if reading his thoughts, Captain Hana asked, If you don't mind me asking, what is your species actually like? How much of what you told us is true? The 3 Durrani looked at each other, and June had the impression they were communicating somehow. After a moment, Trell spoke. Much of what we shared is accurate. Our home world, Marusk, does orbit a red dwarf star. It does have thick cloud cover. But our species did not evolve to fear the light. Quite the opposite. Trell stood up and walked to the large window. The light of the nearby star fell directly on him through the special glass that filtered out harmful radiation. Our ancestors evolved in the deep oceans of Marusk, where little light penetrates. But we did not stay there. We moved to the shallows, then to land. Our scales, he ran a hand over his arm, developed to capture and use what little light was available. We can see in near total darkness and in bright sunlight. Our biology adapted to use whatever energy is available to us. You're saying you're adaptable, said Officer Day, still sounding suspicious. Extremely, said Orcs. Our skin contains specialized cells that can convert light energy into bioenergy. The brighter the light, the more energy we absorb. June couldn't help himself. So the bright lights in the reception area weren't just not hurting you, they were actually beneficial. All eyes turned to June, who immediately regretted speaking out of turn, but Orcs nodded at him. Correct. Your sun is much brighter than ours. Standing in your artificial light gives us more energy than a full day on parts of our home world. Mina tilted her head thoughtfully. Then why develop on a world with so little light? Wouldn't a brighter planet have been better for your species? Our world had other advantages, said Varric. Abundant minerals, stable climate, limited predators, and our adaptability meant the lack of light was not a significant problem. Captain Hana leaned back in her chair. Let me make sure I understand correctly. You told us you were nocturnal creatures who found light painful. In reality, you thrive, in both darkness and light. You've used this deception before to test other species' intentions, and now you're revealing the truth because you passed the initial test, said Trell, returning to his seat. You responded with accommodation rather than exploitation. That is rare enough to warrant further trust. But not complete trust, noted Officer Day. No, admitted Trell. Complete trust must be earned on both sides. We have revealed one deception. There are other aspects of our biology and culture we have not yet shared, just as I'm certain there are things about humanity you have not shared with us. Captain Hana nodded slowly. Fair enough. Trust is built step by step. She looked around, at her team. I propose we take a short break to process this new information. Then we can restart our discussions with a more honest foundation. Agreed, said Trell. But before we break, there is one more thing you should know. The room grew tense again. Your species is among the most physically similar to our own that we have encountered, said Trell. Despite evolving on different worlds, around different stars, our basic shapes, our senses, even the way we think, there are surprising similarities. Our scientists find this most interesting. As the meeting broke up, June remained in his corner, thinking about what Trell had said. Physically similar despite evolving on different worlds? What did that mean for humanity's place in the galaxy? And what other secrets were the Dorani still keeping? Whatever they were, June had a feeling the revelations were just beginning. After the short break, everyone returned to the conference room. The mood had changed. The humans seemed more alert, more cautious. The Dorani appeared more relaxed, as if sharing their secret had removed a burden. Captain Hana had invited June to join them at the table this time. We need your scientific perspective, she had told him during the break. Now he sat beside Mina, trying to look confident despite his racing heart. Let's continue where we left off, said Captain Hana. You mentioned that 15 out of 17 species tried to exploit your perceived weakness. Can you tell us more about that? Trell nodded. His scaled skin caught the light, sending small rainbows across the table. The pattern was consistent enough to be predictable. Once a species believes they have found a weakness, they often try to use it to their advantage. What exactly did they do? Asked June, his curiosity overcoming his nervousness. Orcs, the Dorani scientist, answered. Some demanded special trading terms, arguing that their accommodation of our needs deserved compensation. Others installed extra bright lighting in meeting rooms to weaken our negotiating position. 3 species actually attempted to blind our delegations during talks. The humans looked shocked. That's barbaric, said Mina. It is pragmatic from a certain perspective, said Varric, the third Dorani. In a universe of limited resources, advantage is valuable. But counterproductive in the long term, added Trell. Those who sought short-term gain lost the opportunity for lasting alliance. Officer Day leaned forward. You still haven't explained why you arrived 12 hours early today. Was that part of your test too? Yes, admitted Trell. We wanted to create minor chaos, to see how you would handle an unexpected situation involving us. If you had become angry or blamed us, it would have been a warning sign. Captain Hana smiled slightly. I see. And did we pass that part of your test? With impressive results, said Trell. Your team adapted quickly. You showed concern for our comfort rather than your convenience. Most tellingly, not one of you expressed annoyance at our early arrival. June thought about this. The Dorani had been testing humanity from the very beginning, even before they arrived. I have a question, he said. If your deception about light sensitivity is something you've used before, aren't you worried that word will spread among spacefaring species? That eventually everyone will know it's a test? The 3 Dorani made a sound that the translator didn't convert. June realized it might be laughter. An excellent question, said Orcs. We do not use the same test with every species. Sometimes, we claim sensitivity to certain sounds, or temperatures, or atmospheric gases. The specific deception changes, but the principle remains the same. And what principle is that? Asked Captain Hana. That compassion is rarer than exploitation, said Trell simply, and that those who accommodate weakness are better allies than those who exploit it. The room was quiet, as everyone considered this. June wondered what it said about the galaxy that most intelligent species would choose exploitation over cooperation. Was this true of humanity as well? Or were humans different somehow? There's something I still don't understand, said Mina after a moment. Why reveal your deception now? You could have maintained the pretense of light sensitivity throughout our negotiations. We would never have known. Trell's vertical pupils widened slightly. Because true alliance cannot be built on deception, the test is only the first step. What follows requires honesty. And what does follow? asked Captain Hana. That depends on your species, said Trell. Some who pass the initial test fail the next. When they learn they have been deceived, they become angry. They feel insulted that we would question their character. And how do humans measure on that scale? Asked Officer Day. So far, very well, said Varric. You show curiosity rather than offense. You ask why instead of demanding apologies. June had been thinking about the Durrani's biology. You said earlier that your scales can convert light into energy. Does that mean you're photosynthetic like our plants? Similar but more complex, said Alex. We still need to eat food, but we can supplement our energy through light absorption. In bright conditions, we need less food and sleep. In darkness, we rely more on traditional energy sources. Fascinating, said June. So on your dim homeworld you would eat more, but here under our brighter sun, you might eat less? Correct, said Alex, seeming pleased with his understanding. Your sun would allow us to operate at peak efficiency almost continuously. Which brings us to an important point, said Trell. One reason we test new species is to evaluate them as potential trading partners and allies. Your world has something our species values greatly: abundant sunlight. Captain Hana straightened in her chair. Are you proposing some kind of exchange? Access to our sunlight in return for what? Technologies that would benefit both our peoples, said Trell. Medical advances, more efficient space travel, ways to harness energy that your species has not yet discovered. This got everyone's attention. Faster space travel alone would be worth almost any trade. These all sound valuable, said Captain Hana cautiously, but trading access to sunlight seems unusual. The sun isn't exactly a limited resource from our perspective. Not on your homeworld, no, agreed Trell. But in space, efficiently collecting and using solar energy is more challenging. We have developed technology specifically for this purpose. Combined with your existing space stations, we could create environments that benefit both our species. June suddenly understood. You're talking about joint space habitats, places where humans and Durrani could live and work together. Precisely, said Trell, his mouth forming that almost smile again. Sharing of space, resources, and knowledge, a true alliance rather than merely diplomatic relations. The implications were enormous. Humanity had only recently expanded beyond their solar system. The Durrani, with their 17 prior contacts, clearly had much more experience in space. An alliance could advance human space exploration by decades or even centuries. This is a significant proposal, said Captain Hana. One that goes well. Beyond my authority to accept, I would need to consult with Earth's United Council. Of course, said Trell. We expected nothing less. We are prepared to stay at this station for 20 of your days while you communicate with your leaders. During that time we can demonstrate some of the technologies we might share. That would be helpful, said Captain Hana. Seeing concrete examples would give the Council a better basis for their decision. There is one more thing, said Trell, his tone becoming more serious. Our deception about light sensitivity was harmless. A test with no real consequences. But there are species in this galaxy who use more dangerous deceptions, who present themselves as friendly while harboring hostile intentions. A chill seemed to pass through the room. Are you saying there are threats out there? Asked Officer Day. Hostile aliens? Yes, said Trell simply. Not many, but enough to be concerning. Another benefit of alliance with us would be information about which species to approach with caution. As the meeting continued, June found his mind racing with possibilities. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the galaxy. Now they were being offered advanced technology and protection from potential threats, all because they had shown compassion rather than trying to exploit a perceived weakness. The sunlight had no effect on the Durrani, but humanity's reaction to that revelation might change the course of human history forever. News of the Durrani deception spread quickly through Helios 7. Captain Hana had decided that transparency was the best approach with her crew. If the Durrani valued honesty after their initial test, humans should demonstrate the same principle. Most crew members reacted with surprise and curiosity. A few expressed concern or suspicion. By the third day after first contact, The station buzzed with discussions about what the revelation meant for humanity's place in the galaxy. June found himself unexpectedly popular. As the only science officer who had attended all the meetings, with the Durrani, everyone wanted to ask him questions. After answering the same questions 20 times, he escaped to his favorite quiet spot, the small observation dome at the top of the station. To his surprise, Orcs was already there, looking out at the stars. The Durrani scientist stood very still, her scaled skin reflecting the starlight. "I apologize," said June, backing toward the door. "I did not mean to disturb you." "No disturbance," said Orcs, turning to face him. Without the translator device she wore in official meetings, her voice had a musical quality. "I find watching the stars helps me think clearly. Perhaps humans feel the same?" June nodded and moved to stand near her, but not too close. "Yes, I come here when I need to think." "And what are you thinking about today?" asked Orcs. "Everything that has happened. What it means for us. For humans, I mean." "What do you think it means?" June considered the question carefully. "I think it means the galaxy is more complex than we imagined. More dangerous in some ways, but with more opportunities too." Orcs made the sound that June now recognized as Durrani laughter. An excellent summary, very balanced. They stood in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching as the station slowly rotated, changing their view of the stars. "May I ask you something?" said June finally. "Of course. Why did you choose to test us? Why not just avoid contact? If you were worried we might be dangerous?" Orcs's vertical pupils widened slightly. "Isolation is not a viable long-term strategy. The galaxy is vast but not infinite. Eventually, species encounter each other. Better to test and know than to hide and wonder." "That makes sense," said June. "I have another question, if you don't mind." "Ask freely." "You said humans and Durrani are physically similar compared to other species you've met. What are the others like?" "Varied beyond your imagination," said Orcs. "Some breathe methane instead of oxygen. Some have no solid form at all. Some perceive reality through senses you do not possess. And yet life exists in so many forms," mused June. "It makes me wonder why humans and Durrani ended up so similar." "That," said Orcs, "is a question our scientists have debated for generations." Their conversation was interrupted by the station's announcement system. "Attention all personnel. The Earth delegation has arrived. Docking procedures commencing. Senior staff report to the main conference room." Earth's United Council had responded to Captain Hana's report about the Durrani more quickly than anyone expected. Within just 4 days, they had sent Director G and a team of experts to continue the discussions directly. June was surprised to receive a message asking him to attend the meeting with the Earth delegation. As he made his way to the conference room, he felt nervous but excited. This was history happening, and somehow he had become part of it. The Earth delegation consisted of 5 people led by Director G, a tall woman with short gray hair and intense eyes. She greeted Captain Hana warmly and then turned her attention to the 3 Durrani. "Welcome to human space," she said formally. "I am Director G of Earth's United Council. We are pleased to continue discussions with your people." Trell inclined, his head respectfully. "We are honored by your prompt attention to our proposal." The meeting that followed was long and detailed. Director G had clearly been fully briefed about the Durrani's deception and their explanation for it. She showed no surprise or offense as they reviewed the facts. "Let us address the central issue directly," said Director G after the preliminaries were complete. "Your people have proposed an alliance based on sharing technology and resources. The Council is interested but cautious. We would like to see examples of what you are offering." "A reasonable request," said Trell. He placed a small device on the table. It was a smooth oval shape with no visible buttons or controls. "This contains data on 3 technologies we are prepared to share immediately as a gesture of good faith." "What kinds of technologies?" asked one of the experts from Earth. "First, a more efficient method of water purification that uses 70% less energy than your current systems. Second, an improved medical diagnostic tool that can detect illness before symptoms appear. And third, a way to enhance your current solar collection technology to increase output by 40%. The Earth delegation looked impressed. These were significant advances, especially the medical technology. And what do you expect in return for these initial offerings? Asked Director G directly. Only what you have already given, said Trell. The opportunity to visit 3 of your space stations that receive maximum sunlight exposure. No permanent presence, just visitors who would spend time in your environment. Director G studied the Durrani carefully. That seems like an uneven exchange in our favor. Initial exchanges often are, said Trell. Building trust precedes building equal partnerships. June watched Director G consider this. She was clearly analyzing every aspect of the offer, looking for hidden problems or tricks. There is something else you should know, said Varric, speaking, up for the first time in the meeting. Our species values direct honesty after initial testing, so we will tell you something important. We need this alliance more than you might think. The room grew very quiet. What do you mean? Asked Director G. The hostile species we mentioned, said Trell, are expanding their territory. They have already conquered 2 worlds previously allied with us. We believe they will continue to expand. Alone, neither of our species can effectively resist them. Together we might. This revelation changed everything. What had seemed like a straightforward exchange of technology for access to sunlight now had much larger implications. So this alliance you're proposing isn't just about trade, said Director. It's about defense as well. Yes, admitted Trell. Though we had planned to introduce that aspect more gradually. Director G exchanged looks with her team. We appreciate your honesty, even if it comes with concerning news. You deserve to know the full context of our proposal, said Trell, especially since your species passed our tests so impressively. What exactly impressed you about us? Asked Director G. Captain Hana's report mentioned our response to your light sensitivity deception, but I'm curious what specifically stood out. Many things, said Trell. You prepared your station to accommodate our supposed needs without complaint. When your lights malfunctioned, your first reaction was concern for our safety, not worry about the diplomatic incident, and most importantly, when you learned of our deception, you sought to understand rather than condemn. Director G nodded slowly. Those are basic human values. Consideration for others, concern for welfare, curiosity over judgment. Basic to humans, perhaps, said Orcs, but rare in the galaxy. Of 17 species we have encountered, only 3, including yours, have responded this way. As the meeting continued into technical details, June realized something profound. The Durrani had been testing humanity, yes, but in revealing the results, that humans had passed where most species failed, they had given humanity something valuable, a mirror that reflected humanity's better nature back to itself. The sunlight had no effect on the Durrani physically, but perhaps the light it shed on humanity's character would turn out to be the most important revelation of all. 2 weeks after the arrival of Director G, Helios 7 was transformed. The main hangar had been cleared and decorated for a historic ceremony. Banners representing Earth hung alongside newly created symbols for the Durrani Collective. Station crew members wore their formal uniforms. Everyone could feel the importance of this day. June stood near the back of the crowd, watching as officials from both species prepared for the signing ceremony. The past 2 weeks had been intense. Earth's United Council and the Durrani leadership had negotiated day and night, working out the details of what they were now calling the Sunlight Treaty. Nervous? Asked a voice beside him. June turned to find Sung, the station's engineer. A little, admitted June. I keep thinking about how much is changing, how quickly. Sung nodded. 1 minute we're alone in the galaxy, the next we're signing treaties with aliens. It's a lot to process. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Asked June quietly. Allying with the Durrani? Yes, said Sung without hesitation. After what Director G told us about those hostile aliens, the Vrak, I think they're called We Need Allies. According to the information the Durrani had shared, the Vrak were a highly aggressive species that viewed all other intelligent life as either a threat to eliminate or a resource to exploit. They had already conquered 2 worlds and showed no signs of stopping. It's not just about defense, though, said June. The technologies they've offered could help so many people on Earth. The medical diagnostic tool alone could save millions of lives. True, agreed Sung. I've been working with their engineers on the solar collection upgrades. The things they can do with light energy are amazing. It's like they've built their entire civilization around it. Their conversation was interrupted. As the ceremony began, Director G and Envoy Trell stepped forward to the center of the hangar. Behind them stood Captain Hana and the other Durrani representatives. Today marks a new chapter in human history, began Director G, her voice carrying through the large space. For generations we have looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know we are not, and today we take our first steps toward a formal alliance with the Durrani people. Trell spoke next, his translator conveying his words clearly. The path to this moment was not direct. We began with caution, even deception. But what we found in humanity was rare in our experience, a species that chose compassion over exploitation, understanding over anger, and cooperation over advantage. Director G nodded. The treaty we signed today is just the beginning. Phase 1 includes technology exchanges, scientific cooperation, and cultural missions. But perhaps most importantly, it establishes a framework for honesty between our peoples. June listened as they explained the key points of the treaty. The Durrani would share specific technologies as promised. Humans would welcome Durrani visitors to 3 space stations with maximum sunlight exposure. Joint research projects would begin immediately. Most significantly, both species would cooperate on monitoring the movements of the Vrak. This treaty contains one provision unprecedented in our diplomatic history, said Trell, a formal commitment that neither species will ever use deception as a negotiating tactic with the other again. The audience murmured at this. Such a provision would be almost impossible to enforce. Yet its symbolic importance was clear, a reference to how this relationship had begun and a promise that it would continue differently. Director G and Trell signed the treaty documents, one in Earth Standard language and one in Durrani script. The moment they finished, the station's lights dimmed briefly and then came back at full brightness. A small symbolic gesture, explained Captain Hana. From darkness to light, from isolation to alliance. The formal ceremony concluded, and the gathering shifted to a more relaxed celebration. Food and drinks were served as humans and Durrani mingled together. June found himself moving through the crowd, watching these first tentative social interactions between the species. Quite a historic day, said a voice behind him. June turned to find Orcs. Yes, he agreed. I never expected to be part of something like this. Yet here you are, said Orcs. I believe your input was valuable to the process. Director G mentioned your reports were particularly insightful. June felt his face warm at the compliment. I just observed and reported what I saw. Sometimes clear observation is the most valuable contribution, said Orcs. May I ask what you will do now? I understand your assignment on this station was temporary. It was, confirmed June. But I've been offered a new position. Director G wants me to join the first human team that will visit Durrani space. An excellent opportunity, said Orcs, her scales shifting to a brighter blue that June had learned indicated pleasure or approval. I will be part of the Durrani team stationed here. Our paths may not cross again soon. Maybe not, agreed June. But thanks to this treaty, our species will be working together for a long time. Across the room, June noticed Director G speaking quietly with Captain Hana and Trell. They looked serious despite the celebratory atmosphere. I think they're discussing the Vrak, said Orcs, following his gaze. The threat they pose is real, even if it may be years before they approach your territory. Do you think that's why your leaders revealed the truth about your light sensitivity? Because you need our help against the Vrak? Orcs considered the question carefully. It was a factor, yes, but not the only one. Your species is uniquely compatible with ours in many ways, biologically, culturally, ethically. Even without the Vrak threat, an alliance would be valuable. Compatible how? Asked June. You mentioned before that humans and Dorani are physically similar, but you never explained why. Olix's vertical pupils narrowed slightly. That is one mystery our scientists are still investigating. There are theories, convergent evolution, ancient contact, or even shared origins, but no definitive answer yet. Perhaps our joint research will discover the truth. The party continued around them as humans and Dorani cautiously began to build the personal connections that would support their formal alliance. June saw Sung deep in technical discussion with a Dorani engineer, both of them drawing diagrams in the air. Captain Hana was teaching a group of Dorani the human custom of toasting with drinks. It's strange, said June after a moment. All of this happened because of a deception about sunlight. If your people had been honest from the beginning, we might never have learned what kind of species we really are. Sometimes truth emerges from unexpected places, said Olix. Even from deception. As the celebration wound down, June found himself at the large observation window overlooking the nearby star. Its bright light streamed in, bathing humans and Dorani alike in its glow. Captain Hana joined him at the window. Thinking deep thoughts. June? Just appreciating the view, he replied, and thinking about how differently this all could have gone. The sunlight had no effect on them, said Captain Hana quietly. But our response to that revelation affected everything. June nodded. Outside the window, the star continued to shine, indifferent to the historic events unfolding in its light. But for the humans and Dorani gathered on Helios 7, that light now symbolized something new, a bright beginning to an unexpected alliance, forged through honesty that came only after deception, and strengthened by the discovery that in a dark galaxy those who share their light find their path better illuminated. In the face of shadows spreading across distant stars, two species had found each other and chosen to stand together in the light. It was, June thought, a very human decision. And, apparently, a very Dorani one too.